What's going on, boss? Michael Ray Newman here, coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas. Once again, thanks for letting us come to you guys this whole entire week. I know we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, and I've got my partner and the guy that I hang out with, truly good friend of mine, love him to death, Edwin, Britt. What's up, brother?
Hey, Michael, man, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited because we get to talk about sales today, and man, we got a lot to share with them in a tight amount of time. I'm looking forward to really pouring into them, and I'm coming to you guys from North Carolina. That's what's going on with the pandemic, right? We're plugging in from wherever we can, just like you guys are. But Michael, I am coming to Texas here in about a week, and I look forward to being in the studio with you, brother.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to be live with you guys in a couple of days. So we really appreciate everybody bringing us in, and also it's the great conversations we've had with a lot of you people. So we are talking about sales. And the good news is, guys, the sales guys are here. If you're watching this right now, you're about to learn something. Let me tell you why you're going to learn something. I've been traveling with this guy for about 5 years. Edwin Britt. I just want to give you a quick deal. We're going to jump into it. I don't want to take too much time in setting the stage, but I do want to set the stage. Two things real quick about Edwin Britt. He's been number one for over 30 years in everything he's ever done when it comes to sales. He is a BA, and he always wins when it comes to that. I'm so proud that I even have the opportunity to work with him. He's given us so many ups, and I've learned so much from him personally. But he also, the reason is because he is the world's greatest preparation. He works relentlessly about preparing, right? I can't even say the word. He's great at it. He shared the stage with a guy named Zig Ziglar. You may have heard of him. And he actually mentored under Mr. Ziglar, traveled with Mr. Ziglar, so he knew him intimately. And that I've never had the opportunity to do that. Edwin and I are Ziglar certified trainers. We own Zig Ziglar International together, so we've done some really cool things. Edge Global gets a chance to travel North America now, teaching and training sales training that Edwin has built and I have lived over my whole entire life and his whole entire life. So when I tell you that, guys, what you're going to be able to do today is really learn from one of the best. In my opinion, the best. So I want you to do what I always say. I want to make sure that you make this time, this next 30 minutes about you. Okay. And what I mean by that is you got to lock everything else out. Because right now you're stopping down your day. You're not making calls. You're not in front of somebody. You have some customers that want to call you back. You have some deals that you might be able to close. There might be a couple of deals you might be losing here in a minute, but you have to be here. So take the time, take a breath, use your attitude to have a good attitude right now, because attitude lets the pressure go down, confidence goes up, and it opens you up for retention and learning. And Edwin, when we talk about that, I want you guys to make it about you, pour into yourself, just be able to take a deep breath and learn this process that we call trust. And as we get into it, Edwin, the number one thing that's the most important thing when we start these things off is what? Is our attitude. You can pull that slide up now. Thank you.
Hey, Michael, listen, I appreciate the kind words and thank you, everybody. We're looking forward to sharing with you what we've really learned over decades and decades of trial and error and experience. We're going to share with you a time-tested and proven process. And as we've shared this with companies and organizations all over the world, we have been in rooms where everybody in the room made $250,000 and more, or people who are just beginning. And it's just as relevant no matter where you are in your sales journey. You know, one of the key things is it's what's important is what you learn after you already think you know everything, right? It's critically important. But Michael, you don't give yourself enough credit, man, before we jump in. I've seen your beautiful wife, and brother, you outkicked your coverage. So I got to say, you must be a pretty good salesman. I just wanted to throw that out there for the audience. Okay. Don't let Michael fool you. He's a pretty good salesman himself.
Well, there's a difference between a good salesman and a closer. I might be a pretty good closer. You're the one that can set it up. You don't have to close because you're always good. So let's learn a little bit of both today. What do you think?
I love that. And what we got to do is sometimes we have to reevaluate what our attitude is about selling. Some people, nobody really wants to be sold anyway, right? But I want you to consider this. Selling with a proper attitude is really a transference of feeling, right? Selling is a transference of feeling. And selling is not something that you do to someone, but selling is something you do with and for someone. And if that's the case, and it really, really, really is, then you better have a process that, again, brings you along beside people. So attitude is so important. It's that competitive home court advantage. What you send out is what you get back. And if selling really is a transference of feeling, then you better make sure you've got that attitude that embraces others and is welcoming to others. Tune into your listening. But as we move through the screens, Michael, there's something critically important, and I'd like to bring that next slide up as a visual, because as salespeople, oftentimes we get challenged on where we invest our time and how we invest our time. Everybody wants to be a better manager of their time. So please bring the next slide up so we can give this visual in regards to how we make a win list. Here's the key thing. As you're listening to this today, I'd like for you to participate with us. By a show of hands, how many people listening today and viewing this would like to be better managers of their time? And every hand in the room.
Always.
Yeah, we always do. And we filled in the blank for you, but I'm going to follow this up with the next question. Those of you who raised your hand, would you keep your hand up if you knew before looking at this slide here that there were 86,400 seconds in every day? What we want to encourage you to do in your sales profession is to become tactical, short-term, and strategic, long-term in your thinking and planning, so that you can not manage time, but prioritize time. That is so critically important to increasing your impact and your effectiveness. In fact, your energy. And Michael, you created this so simple. You call it a win list. It's not a to-do list, but a win list. Will you elaborate on that, please, for our audience?
That's right, Edwin. And there is only 86,400 seconds in a day. And what are you going to do with that? And it's how you prioritize it. And you say this later on in a lot of our leadership training. It's about, in our mindset of a champion training, it's not about time management. It's about energy management. Who do we give our energy to? And so many times, especially since we're always connected now, right? Somebody's always reaching out, tugging at your shirt tails, whether it be your social media, whether it be your CRM system that you're using, whether it be your family. And there's so many things that can pull us off task. I believe this is more relevant today than ever. I used this way back when I was trying to just get my life back in order. And it's really a to-do list, but win means what's important now. That's what's so important about a win list. It just keeps you on task. So every time when I get focused, I put this together every evening. I start off every morning, and it really is just a cool little thing that I look at. What do I need to win? What do I need to look at right now to get back on point with? What do I need to do right now? Because everything that we do, Edwin, as we go through this day, we have a win list when we start. If we go through it, we have something we benchmark it that we can grade ourselves upon. And when we're talking to our customers, where are we in the process? Because what we're going to find out as we get into the process, it's easy to get off task, even with you're talking to your customers. And when they're trying to, and we have two customers, internal and external, what a win list does for me, it also upsets my status quo. What does that mean? Well, if I can upset your status quo or upset your thinking, it opens you up for learning, but more important, retention. And that's what a win list does. It lets me get back on point. And then when people upset my status quo, I get back in there and I say, oh, that's where I need to be. Then I can get more focused.
So when you have the right attitude, the right approach, and you've got a priority list, a win list, what's important now, we don't get distracted, right? When we're answering someone else's email, we're really focusing on someone else's agenda, right? We waste so much time because we don't have a win list. What's important now? Are we strategic in when we reach out to people? And when we do reach out to people, do we have a process that allows us to lean in, and more importantly, get them to lean in? Michael talked about upsetting their status quo. So we want to share with you a process that is going to transform your ability to help and serve more people. Not only will you help and serve more people, you'll have more fun and you'll make more money. In fact, I believe you'll even be healthier as a result of that. Here's what we've discovered after 32 years of selling, Michael, in all types of environments. I never focus on whether prices are going up or down or rates are going up and down, because you know what? Everybody else is focused on that. I'm going to lean into a process that yields predictable results. And here's what we discovered. People really have one of three processes. They either have a personality-driven process, and you've sort of heard that. Oh, you could sell ice to Eskimos. You could sell anything to anybody. We all know that person. The problem with that is that you don't really know me very well if you think that's the case, because I would never do that unless there's a real need and the solution is aligned with that. In other words, there's an integrity proposition behind it. But we all have this challenge of how do we focus on our narrative and how do we elevate, right, our value proposition. So at Boss Crane, you've got a phenomenal value proposition. How do we get more people to lean into that? Well, you do have to know about the second part of a process, and that is your product. And Most of the training that you've received in your career at Boss Crane has been about the products. And that's critically important. You have to know the features and functions of your products and services, what they will do. However, and a big however, when we just focus on the features and functions of what they will do, we've got to go a step further. We need a client-centered process so that we can articulate, once we understand what the need is, the true need is, what the features and functions of our products and solutions will do for them. You see, as salespeople, so often what we do is we give people our reasons for why they should take action. And that is a big disconnect. It seems logical, right? I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you should use Boss Crane, use our products and services. But then we get frustrated when they don't follow through. Or it ends up going about price. Or is price important? Well, yes, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing in this process, and we're going to go through it with you, is really the prospect's need, what their problem is. And what I've discovered is there's not nearly enough time devoted to that. So while we need to know about our products and services, we need to tap into the feelings and the motives and the beliefs about what other people want to accomplish and lean into the need. So we need a client-centered process. When we have a client-centered process, again, resistance goes down, attention and creativity go up. You move from across the table to beside them. Now you're two partners working towards a collaborative action in a critically important need that they have. But Michael, you and I have seen this. There are people that never even get to the need. They jump so quick to their reasons for why you should take action, and they miss
solution.
There's a big gap, right? Talk about
that.
You
know what, Edwin?
Speak to each step.
Yeah, what I've seen in that, and what I've discovered, because I have a construction company, we've been around for 30 years and we've been doing this, and we started implementing this process right here with everybody, and they leaned into this, and they were able to check with as they're speaking about our products and services, and we're trying to uncover the need. We're able to find out. We're going to give you a couple of practicals too, and examples for relating and uncovering the R and the U and the S. We're going to get inside this, and it's not always T.R.U.S.T. It's ever flowing. It goes back and forth. But we started doing this, and it like today we're going to be with you guys just for a little bit. So it takes much more reps and many more times to really get the ups. I mean, the mindset of a champion has a 52-week masterclass that we teach, and it's also virtual. We also come in. We've been working with companies 3 years now that they've been bringing us back in, and we do virtuals every other week with them. So it takes time, and it's in the construction industry. So I know we are right on point with this because I've seen it, I've lived it, and my companies live it. So it's really awesome when you can come in and really take the time to think, plan, and prepare before you get to somebody and knowing what they need. But we can't go in there and tell them right away. We have to relate to them and build that trust. That trust word again, right? It's going to be in here many times. When we build that trust, they feel like we related to them. Then what Edwin said, you come on the other side of the desk with them and you guys move forward, and it bridges the gap to uncover that need to offer the solution that they have for them. And that gives you the opportunity for us to take action, Edwin. So what I'd like to do right now is have you talk to the relate stage. I mean, you think, plan, and prepare better than anyone else, man. You're on stage. You have spoken thousands of time and thousands of time in North America, but you also have done it 10x that because you've done it to hotel walls and your dog and everything else before, because you like to practice and you want to know your product and your customers. It's important this too, to know your products. That training is important, because what happens is when we get pressure and we're not prepared, we start talking about the product because why? That's what we know. And if you're like me, if you don't know the products and the guy blows you a little bit, you don't know what their need is, you start doing a lot of Michael Ray, and a little bit of me goes a long way. You get your personality too involved in it, and before you know it, you haven't really found out what their need is. So when you're relating to somebody and you're walking through it, let's jump into that, Edwin, for a second, and let you just kind of start there and work us through this.
Sure, Michael, and you said something so well there. I want to make sure everybody heard that. It's not check the box T.R.U.S.T, right? This will become ingrained in you. We hope we have opportunity to continue to work with you guys so that you'll really fully appreciate the full power of this process. But what it does do is it allows me to focus my attention on the other person. And the key important part is whether it's T.R.U.S.T, whatever step is on, is that I'm just in the same place as that other person. Then I'm able to meet their personality. I'm able to meet their style. I'm able to meet their timing. A real practical example, then I'll speak quickly to these 4 steps inside the relate stage, which is meaningfully specific in nature. And probably everybody here has experienced what I'm about to say to some degree. You're sitting in a corporate boardroom. There's 3 or 4 decision makers in there. You've got all your stuff, right? You're ready. And they have a tendency to say this, and this happened to me in a big scenario that ended up being a big 6-figure opportunity that we were able to land for Edge Global Inc. And they said this, and they brought in other vendors. So you're competing against other vendors. I realize that on a day-to-day practical level. And they said, well, tell us what, hey, Edwin, we went through the little niceties, and they said, well, tell us what you got. My suspicion is that every other vendor prior to me, and probably the vendors that are arriving prior to you, they see that as a signal to jump right into their solution. And they miss these big steps. They never build time building rapport, meaningfully specific. And more importantly, they don't have and discover the real need. And here's what I said. I said, I led with gratitude. Thank you so much for the opportunity today. I'm certainly prepared to speak about all that we have to offer. But before we do that, I'd really like to know what you'd like to accomplish. Think about that. I asked one meaningfully specific question on what you'd like to accomplish. Do you know for the next 35 minutes, those 4 decision makers spent the rest of that time talking about their challenges, their problems? It didn't even come up yet again. Now, fast forward that story, you probably know who won that big 6-figure contract. Yeah, you're looking at him because I have a step and a process. I'm going to always want to find out 4 things meaningfully specific when I'm relating to a person or organization. I want to know as much as I can about that person. I'm going to prepare as much as I can in advance about those decision makers, find out about the culture in the company and all the things going on. Are they involved in the community? Because I want to know, and remember, the person who has the most information has the most influence, right? What does that have to do with my products? Everything. But I'm going to set the stage. I'm going to be in control. I'm going to give them the sense that they're in control, but really I'm very calm. I'm able to really listen. Then I want to find out about the organization as much as they're willing to share. And that can be if I've got a high D personality that's like, hey man, I only got a couple minutes. Let's go get to the bottom line. What are the numbers? What are the specs? I can relate to that. I can build that. But ultimately, if I've got a little more time, I want to dig a little more. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And here's the big miss. People hear their goals and they plug right into, here's what we got. Here's how I can help you get your goals this year. We're going to help you make this job happen. Here's how we're going to do it. No, we got to take one more step. And we got to say, what are your obstacles? What's preventing you from getting where you want to go? And what you've just done is you build a meaningfully specific bridge, something can be done in seconds, minutes, or hours, moving towards the next stage of the process. Let's bring that up. We want to talk about, again, the big miss. And that's the you in the process, uncovering the need. There we have to be very attentive. We got to really trust our process and relax. So when we have a process, I already know what I know. I know what I'm going to say when I need to say it. I want to really spend time illuminating that light bulb and getting them connected to their real problems. Because here's one more thing. Oftentimes we take a casual glance in our selling process, and then our prospect, our client, mirrors what we do, a casual glance, but an in-depth look always reveals more than a casual glance. I want to spend more time there. People rush through this important step, or they never even acknowledge or talk about it. I want to acknowledge those things, assuring your prospect that you're fully attentive to what they're saying. Slow down, connect the need, talk about that. And you know what you can do there in the you, if you feel like you're getting out of balance with the need? You can move back up to the relate stage. You can lean back into your T of the planning and preparing. And it might sound like this, as I was preparing and looking through all of our previous jobs and our specs, based on what you just shared with me about what you're trying to accomplish, we might want to, and what I'm doing is I'm building a bridge to the very next piece of the puzzle, the most important piece, the one you're most comfortable talking about, and that is the solution, right? And even in that, let's talk about that in the solution. Michael, you've seen me do that. I've watched you do it now on a much more effective basis. Speak to that a little bit as we move to the next slide and refer to solution.
Yeah, and I think the way you set it up makes it a lot easier to sell them or provide a solution or serve them or whatever our products and services are. And when you get to that point, this feed is a really good way to do the check on if it's done, if the dinner's done yet, right? If the roast is done, you can stick it in there and find out if it is because of this feed. Because when you go through the R and the U, and you can always go back up to that pogo piece, and you can always, and that's where the pivot comes. I mean, I think that if you guys are taking any notes, when he went to they said, oh, what you got? What you got, man? How much? All those things, right? There's a pivot there. And he says that, and he says, I'm really appreciate you being here, and I definitely am prepared to talk to all that. But before we do, I sure would like to know about you and what you guys want to accomplish. So what you guys are looking to accomplish, what you guys are looking to achieve. Where if it's like me out here, I'd say what you boys are looking to do. And then Edwin said they spoke for 35 minutes. So I don't want you to miss that piece of listening. Shut up, let them talk. Because when they're talking, what are you doing? You're back up in the T, thinking, planning, and preparing. This is not a check the box kind of deal. And that gives you, when you do those first three letters like that and appropriate, man, this right here just slides in a lot easier. Everything just kind of locks in pretty good. You just feel like you've got it, that you've got the pipe locked in. So when you talk about this solution, which is really our products a lot of times, and that's how we get there too fast. So it's really important to tell ourselves to listen. And while I'm doing that, because we work with the construction industry, and a lot of these guys are really check the box kind of people. They are trades guys. They're not sales guys. They're in the trade. So they're having to sell the stuff at the house or when they're on the job a lot of times. So they love the process because in their mind, they can say, where am I? So that's what I do. I lean back into the process and get out of my personality, get out of the products, and I can really listen to the customer and relate. Because when I do get to the solution, and I have led with their need, because they don't buy my stuff for me. They don't buy it for what it does. They buy for what it does for them, Edwin.
So important, Michael. And I know price is part of the equation, but all too often I hear people focus so much on price. You know, now because I've really mastered this process through lots and lots of practice and implementation, price really very rarely comes up because, see, I don't quote price until I've established the value and I've illuminated the need and also illuminated the pain of not taking action. Price is only relative when you pulled all those things together. If you have a product-centered process, if you're just selling products, yeah, price is always going to come up. And I realize if you're bidding jobs and that price is something they look at, but there's a way to articulate and position the value proposition. You've got a great company, you've got a great reputation. You've got to be able to lean into that because that's worth something there, right? There's price and there's cost. But then when it's time, again, a big disconnect is people think, oh, it's my turn to talk about what I love talking about. Those are the products and services that we provide. And they lead with that. No, you've taken all this time to uncover the need. Lead with the need. What I think I heard you say is,
Bam.
What you'd like to accomplish is, here's the obstacles preventing you. You used a lower price point organization before and it cost you months. It ended up impacting what your profitability was on that job. Well, would you like to, if there were a better way, would you like to know it? And then when I do articulate it, I'm going to articulate it in 4 very simple ways. Feature, that's what it is. I want to make sure that as they understand my solution, this is what it is. Function, what it does. Most important part, benefit, what it does for you. Remember, people make decisions based on their reasons, not yours. And their reasons are driven by their feelings, their motives, their beliefs, what they want to accomplish, and their past experiences, right? So it's an education, and then provide evidence that supports that. If you'll learn to start articulating in a meaningfully specific way, hey guys, ladies and gentlemen, we're not professional visitors, right? We're there for a purpose, for a job. We're there to represent Boss Crane in a meaningfully specific way. You already have the best. Let's make sure we're positioning that properly. And when we do that, again, resistance goes down. See yourself moving beside the table. Now you have separated yourself from the competition because more than likely your competition doesn't have a client-centered process. They're all over the board. And I'm going to ask you this question as we move to Michael's favorite part of the process, and I'm going to hand it back to him. But
hold on a second. Before you do that, hold on.
Okay.
Hang on, brother. Hang on.
All right.
Before we get in there, I want to slow down just for a minute. I want to make sure that they understand a couple of pivot phrases that I think that I heard you say that I want you to talk with, or transitions that allows you to listen and making sure you've uncovered everything you need to uncover, go back really quick and talk about what I think I heard you say. And guys, you're going to get these. Edwin's going to talk through one more slide, and then he's going to we'll wrap it up. So we're almost done here. But you'll have the opportunity, I believe, because this is recorded, and you guys can go look at it again and break it down. But if you've been taking some notes, there's a couple of key things that help me, and I've been doing it. I validated things, educate and validate. Every time we do something, we educate or we validate. That's it. Today, the only thing you've done is educate or validate. Some of it is I learned something new. Oh, it's pretty cool. Validating is like, yep, I do that. Oh yeah. Or some of it's like, oh, I forgot that I do that. I need to do that some more. I knew that. Or some of it's like, oh, I do jump to product too fast. I need to slow down. So Edwin, a couple of in and outs there was the, what do you want to accomplish? That's in the very beginning. What are you really looking to accomplish? And then the other one, because I've heard you listen, and I've heard people just talk and talk and talk. It's like you talk, it's like you're their psychiatrist. Sometimes we get in there and at the very end, you pause, you take notes while they're talking. It's important, the perception of what they do, because you already know it pretty much most of the time, but you also learn some things, and you sit there and you ask them this. And I hope you guys are writing this down, or will come back and write this down. That's interesting, because what I think I heard you say was, and then you summarize what they said. And when they feel like that you've connected, bro, that is really key, isn't it?
Yeah, again, you've separated yourself from the competition, Michael, and you are applying the most important part. People think being a great salesperson is about learning how to speak and how much you can say. Really, just the opposite is true. I want to be the best listener in the room and the most prepared person, so that when I do speak, I'm able to say more with less. Oftentimes when I rephrase it back, they go, yeah, that's exactly what I said. You just said it better than I did. And I kind of laugh. I really don't laugh. I just sort of smile and acknowledge it. But I know from that point on, now we're two people beside each other. I've never tried to close a sale. I've never tried to close a sale in my life, but I have spent a lot of time trying to open and build ongoing relationships.
Well, that's powerful right there. Trust. I haven't closed a sale, but I open relationships and open up opportunities. And what Edwin's really good at, the two best things he's really good at, you guys have heard some of that today. He's a great listener. And we've talked that in other programs, and we teach in our leadership and our sales and our mindset of a champion, which we're going to be able to be live with you guys here in a couple of days, or in a day or so. Is he's a fantastic storyteller. And that's when you really connect with people, E. So I want you to speak to that a little bit as we go to the next slide.
Yeah, the ability to control your own narrative really comes from getting people upsetting their status quo, having them lean in, right, and tell me more. And when you do that, you can do that in the form of being a storyteller. I love this illustration that everybody can see. Those of you in Texas, you probably obviously traveled over that bridge. It's a great, beautiful side of the city lights of Dallas, Texas. But when you create your signature story about your solutions, what you're known for, what your brand is, right? Not only your brand for the company you represent, but your brand as a representative of that, then you've got to be able to acknowledge people's pain points, teach them, right? You're an educator, right? Why your solutions are the answer to their problems, right? And see, I'm able to do that very calmly. I'm not worried about everybody else because I've got a process that's better than everybody else, right? I don't, two men looked out of prison bars. One saw mud, the other saw stars. I'm going to fly with the eagles, man. I'm not going to run around with the turkeys. You got to provide them credible results. You got to inspire them to refer a friend. You've got to deliver lifetime value to them. That's what a client-centered process does. And here's a big key that you maybe haven't picked up on yet. As you implement this, as you master this process, you are going to help more people. You're going to make more money. You're going to serve more people, because selling is really about serving. But you can pick this up and take it into your home. We'll talk about that mindset of a champion and become a better parent, a better member of your community, a better spouse, because all of these principles apply to everything that we do. And again, Michael, I'm teeing it up for the last big T, your favorite one, man. When we're able to do all those things, we're able to conclude and bring a collaborative thing together with that final T. It's yours, man. I'm handing it off to you there, brother. Bring it home.
Well, there's two T right in the very end of it. I'm the kind of guy that if we all went to the firing range and had our guns out, I'm more ready, fire, fire, fire. And then I try to aim sometimes. So I've done this backwards a lot of times, Edwin, as we've gone in and a closer, and I've built a little too much. But it's really and truly at the end of the day, I want you guys to understand this. It's about taking massive action. It's about nothing. I mean, and here's what happens. Some people will never take the shot at the driving range. They look at it and they go, okay, ready, aim, aim. They pull their finger up, wait for that wind to just get right, and they keep trying to aim, and they never take a shot. You've got to take your shot. That's what this is about. That's what life is about. And more importantly, that is exactly what sales is about, more than anything else probably. Because when you do have a client-centered process, it sets you up to take massive action if you've done the right things. Now, this is the one thing you do at the very end. We're taking action all the way through. But when we get together, and you can have somebody in your hip pocket, and that's the customer, because we have two customers, right? As leaders and as Boss Crane, they have their internal customer. And when you take care of your internal customer, which they're doing for you, then your external customers see that. And that's who you guys, us as salespeople, that's who we see every day. We're on the front lines. Nothing happens till we get it started and get it done. But the people that are supporting that, what's your brand look like? And you need to be consistent across that. And you have to help them. It's okay if we don't have it all together all the time, but together we all together we have it together, but because we have to communicate across platforms. As a salesperson, you've heard this is the oldest thing in the book, is that we're all in sales. Everybody is. You guys are not only selling your customers, you go back and you sell your business on what's out in the field, that changes that need to be made. But you have to do it with the right kind of attitude that we took earlier with. We have to do it with the other things that we have already set ourselves with, Edwin. So when you talk about taking action, at the very end, it's in a couple of different ways. I mean, it looks different in different situations, I know, but when you're talking about taking the massive action and you involve that process, it makes it a lot easier, doesn't it, when you're doing something like that?
It really does, and it's a repeatable thing. You know, I've worked with clients. Michael and I have had clients for years and years, and I remind them sometimes about this trust process. And I remember sharing with one of our big key clients one time, and I was actually teaching this to those that he's entrusted to lead. And he actually walked in the room, and I called his name, and I said, have you thought about that in every phone call, every interaction, we've been working together now for 4 or 5 years, that what I'm teaching, I'm implementing every single time. In other words, you can use it in a 30-second phone call. You can do it in a big formal presentation. The trust process, you can pick up and put down every time. And Michael, he literally kind of leaned back like that and went, wow. He said, you know, you're right. I never thought about that. And I said, what's been the byproduct of that? And he said, well, I feel like you always respect my time. You're always prepared. You always have something, whether I'm in the midst of something challenging, I only have a minute, or I'm really interested in something more formal that you and I need to talk about in a more lengthy manner. It's always the same. It's always predictable. You're always listening. You allow me, you draw out my true need, my true concern. You provide a solution, and you build the next step to the next action. I never thought about it, but wow. You know, and that's the key, guys, is it yields predictable results. And what happens is any pressure that you're feeling in a sales environment, guess what? If you're feeling pressure, you're transferring pressure. If you're feeling calm and prepared and responsive, there's more than one person involved in the sales process. And if you're feeling frustration, guess what? So are they. You've got to be inclusive. That's what Michael's saying. You've got to be inclusive of the process and be in the same place they are. And then as you move, it's like a beautiful dance. They move with you. That's where that creativity comes. And that's where ultimately true trust comes up, Michael.
I'm sorry, Edwin. I think I may have frozen up there just for a second.
Yeah, I was just simply saying,
right?
yeah, that's where true trust really comes up. And so
I got you, brother.
Yeah. Okay. Bring it home, buddy.
Hey, man, I really appreciate your time. As we wrap up here today, I want to make sure that when you go through this, back through and you review it, have a process. What is your process? And what I've learned is, and here's what I'm going to give you some secret sauce right here. Here's what it is. You can use this everywhere you go. Edwin and I were in Tampa 4 years ago, and we were doing a live on Facebook, and we had over 100,000 people watching it. And I realized as he's going through the trust process, I had a light bulb moment myself, because when you and your customer both get there at the same time and they have a light bulb and you have it, that's when you can move forward together and you can take action. You can have the real solutions you need to have. But I realized that it's a life process. I use this process with my children. I use it with my spouse. I use it with my brothers. I use it with my family. I use it with my friends. about how I can relate to them, make sure I can hit, so I can do what? Help them. It's servant leadership. It's a servant mentality, because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. And what you have to do above everything else, don't wait till you're ready. Get out there and take massive action. You got to go take, it doesn't matter if it's fixed or if it's finished, you got to go try it and get better at it. When we fall down, we stand up and get better. Think about this, guys. There's so many of you out there that are in sales that are very good at sales, but they just don't have a process. They can't speak to it. What if you took the time? What if you took the time today to learn a process to really be able to communicate with your customers in a really good way and listen for the first time instead of just throwing bids out there, instead of hammering it out? That's important too. But being able to take just that little tick back and take a second before you go in there to make sure that you prepared the bid right, make sure you've connected with the people right, because when it's your turn to talk, you better be able to relate to them and uncover that need, right? To have that offer solution. Because what I want you guys to do today, thank you for the time. We look forward to working with you again. We'll see you here in a day or so. And whatever else you do in your entire life, play hard, have fun, and make it count, guys. When we're out there, let's make it count. Let's have our best year ever. It's 2021. We're just getting started. All your goals that you set, all those things that went down, turn back around and reset, relaunch, and you'll be ready to go, guys.